Ram Ram devotees and Jai Sita Ram. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to our virtual Sunday morning satsang. This is a beautiful August 16th, 2020. At this time, devotees, I ask that we all please clasp our hands, close our eyes. We focus our minds on the feet of Bhagwan as we commence with our prayers for this morning. Om Hari Om Hari Om Hari Om Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Ishavasyam midam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magrudha khasya svidhanam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidhushavahe. Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Devotees, at this time I ask that we all please join together as we commence in chanting the most powerful Gayatri Mantra. Om Magakshe Varade Devi Akshare Brahmavadini Gayatri Jagat Madhar Vishwayoni Namostute. Om Bhure Bhuva Swam Tatsavitur Bharenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaham Prachodayat. Om Bhure Bhuva Swam Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaham Prachodayat. Om Bhure Bhuva Swam Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaham Prachodayat. Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Prem Sabaro Gayatri Mata Ki Jai. Devotees, at this time I ask that we all please join together as we offer prayers to that destroyer of all obstacles in our life, those mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical obstacles, as we offer prayers to Lord Ganesh. Om Yajananam Bhutaghanadhi Sevitam Kapita Jambu Palchara Bhakshanam Umasutam Shoka Vinashikarakam Namami Viganeshwara Pada Pankajam. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Raksha Raksha Ganadaksha Rakshatre Lokya Rakshakar Bhaktanam Bhayam Karta Trata Bhava Bhavarnavar. Devotees, at this time I ask that we all join together as we offer this beautiful bhajan to Lord Ganesh. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva Mata Jaki Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva Mata Jaki Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Ladavana Kabonga Lage Santa Kari Seva. Ladavana Kabonga Lage Santa Kari Seva. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva Mata Jagi Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva Mata Jagi Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Ekadantanyavanta Chara Bhujamhari Ekadantanyavanta Chara Bhujamhari Matike Sindur Sohe Musake Savari Dukyo Ke Duka Harata Paramananda Deva. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva Mata Jaki Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Deva Mata Jaki Parvati Pita Mahadeva. Andhana ko aankh dete Korean ko kaya. Andhana ko aankh dete Korean ko kaya. Banjan ki putra dhitya nirdhan ko maya. Bhav se bhar karo nata bhajan ध्यान करो तेरा। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा, माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा, माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। जो तेरा ध्यान करो ज्ञान मिले उसको, जो तेरा ध्यान करो ज्ञान मिले उसको, छोड़ तुझे और भला जाऊँ मैं किसको। हे देव कृपा करो कष्ट हरो मेरा। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा, माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। जय गणेश जय गणेश जय गणेश देवा, माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा, माता जाकी पार्वती पिता महादेवा। ओम श्री गणपते नमो नमः। प्रेम से बोल गणेश भगवान की जय। As we continue on with our prayers, devotees, we now offer the obediences to that universal mother and that destroyer of all evils in our life. We offer prayers to Adi Shakti Durga Mata. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute. Jai Tvam Devi Chamunde, Jai Pudharte Nihardini, Jai Sarvagate Devi Kalaratri Namostute. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vishnu Mayeti Shamdita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Bhutirupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Lakshmi Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shraddha Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shanti Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Tushti Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Daya Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namaya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Matri Rupena Samstita. Namastasye 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 Namo Namah. Saubhagyam Arogyam Dehi me Paramam Sukham Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Tvisho Jahi. Om Prem Sabarwadi Shakti Durga Mata Ki Jai. Devotees, at this time, we all join together now as we offer prayers to that sustainer of all things righteous, all things dharmic in this universe, as we offer prayers to Lord Vishnu. Om Shri Vishnuve Namaham. Om Shantakaram Bhujagashairam Bhadmanabham Surisham Vishwadharam Gaganim Sadrisham Meghavarnam Shubhangam. Om Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanayanam Yogi Bhira Dhyana Gamyam Vande Vishnu Bhavabhayaharam Sarvaloke Kanatam. Om Sashanka Chakram Sakirita Kundhalam Sapita Vastram Sarasiruhekshanam Sahara Vakshasthala Shobhikostu Bhashriyam Namami Vishnu Shirasa Chaturabhujam Namami Vishnu Shirasa Chaturabhujam Om Prem Savara Vishnu Bhagwan Ki Jai. And finally, devotees, we offer prayers to that universal Father, that universal Guru. We offer prayers to that destroyer of all evils in our life and this universe. We offer prayers to Lord Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Gharapura Gauram Harunavataram Samsara Saram Bhujagendraharam Sadha Santam Hirdayardavine Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. Devotees, may we all join together as we chant Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Devotees, we offer this next prayer for all those suffering from various illnesses, diseases, injuries, and ailments. We ask them to have a fast, speedy, and full recovery. We also offer a prayer for those transitioning from this world to the next. May the passage be a smooth and tranquil one. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityurmukshyo Mamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityurmukshyo Mamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityurmukshyo Mamrutat. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Om Kartikeya Namaha. Om Nandishwaraya Namaha. Om Vasukiye Namaha. Om Shri Samba Sadha Shivaya Namaham. Prem se bolo Shiva Shankara Bhagwan Ki Jai. And devotees, before we continue on with our sermon for today, for all of us who have a guru, I ask that we all join together as we offer a prayer to our guru. If not, I ask that we take Lord Shiva in our mind as the universal guru as we pray together. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Prem se bolo Guru Deo Ki Jai. Devotees, last week when we had met, we had covered the Bhagvat Gita, and we had started on chapter 5. Chapter 5 talking about Sannyasa Yoga, Krishna Yoga, yoga through the renunciation of actions. And Bhagwan Shri Krishna started off that chapter by telling Arjuna the difference between doing action in the name of Bhagwan and then renouncing action, or not doing action at all, and which one was better. We ended last week on verse 11, where Bhagwan Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Ya Kayena Manasam Bundhya Kevalir Indriyer Api Yogina Karma Kurvanti Sangyam Chaktva Masunyai Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Bhagwan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna to purify the mind. A Niskama Karma Yogi, one who does action in the name of Bhagwan, gives up all attachment and performs action with his body, mind, and intelligence. Sometimes he performs action only with his senses, not even engaging his mind. We talked something about this last week, which is working on automatic. And we have these experiences all the time where we're so devoted into our work, we're so focused on what we do, we let our senses take over. We let our senses take over, and then 1 hour goes by, 2 hours goes by, 3 hours goes by, and then you look up and you realize, oh, it's dark outside. I've worked so hard, I focused so hard on what I was working on, I didn't realize how quickly time was going by. In some of those instances, devotees, we're not actually giving everything to Bhagwan. We're not doing that work in the name of Bhagwan. We're just so entangled in what we're doing that we lose track of time. We lose track of our senses. I can speak on behalf of performing a puja. My father, who's not here for me to make fun of, he just walked away, is very, very time driven. He's very, very specific. He's a military man. If we say we're starting at 10 o'clock, we've got to start at 10 o'clock. If we say we're going for 3 hours, we've got to go for 3 hours on the dot. But sometimes when I'm up here doing religious work, when I'm performing a puja, when I'm saying a sermon, I'm so entwined into what I'm doing. I'm so focused on doing that I lose track of time. And you'll see a number of pundits that happens to. Sometimes we call them long-winded, but they're just so into what they're talking about that they lose track of time. When somebody's sitting down to perform a yajna, they'll sit down, they'll perform the yajna, and the pundit will say, stand up. And you know what the yajman doesn't realize? You know what the person sitting down doesn't realize? How long they've been sitting down for. And what happens when you stand up? You realize how squeaky those hinges in your joints and your knees and your hips are. Oh, my mama, me legs, they hurt so much. You try to stand up and it hurts. Doesn't matter how old or young you are. You're so focused on something that you lose track of what your body does. And then the moment you have to use those senses again, you get up and your body aches, it hurts. So we perform actions with only our senses, not even engaging in our mind. We let our body take over. We let the senses perform the senses they need to. And everything gets done in the right amount of time. But he's not done yet. He keeps on talking about somebody who is a Niskama Karma Yogi. Bhagwan Shri Krishna goes on to say to Arjuna, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Yukta Karma Phalam Tyaktva Santim apnoti nastikim ayukta kama karena phale saktu nibhadyatem sarva karmanim manasa samyasyaste sukham vase navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. He goes on to say that having given up attachment to the fruits of his actions, the Niskama Karma Yogi attains eternal peace. The Sakha Karmani, however, who is attached to the fruits of his activities and is impelled by material desires, becomes entangled. The self-controlled Jiva, having renounced attachment to the fruits of all karma within his mind, dwells peacefully in the city of 9 gates, neither performing action himself nor causing anyone to act. Breaking that down, in this karma yoga attains eternal peace by giving attachment to his fruits. Because if we remain attached to these material things in the world, we become entangled. Sometimes we see people who are called perfectionists. Something has to be done a certain way, a very particular way. And when it's not done that particular way, we lose it. We get angry. Picking on Guyanese families, we like to have a spotless house. What happens when our parents say we have guests coming over? What do we know is immediately about to happen? We pull out the grease lightning, the Lysol, the buckets, the mops, the microfiber towels, the sponges, and we clean. We clean. Now we know that children, myself included when I was a child, I'm not so sure much now, kind of a little bit now, but when we clean something and we think it's good, our parents will come up and be like, look at the mess you made. There's still a spot here, and here. And then what happens after that? You get yelled at, your parents are angry, you're upset because you did work, but then you got yelled at for doing it. So we become so entangled in these physical objects, the physical things that we did, that it leads to anger. It leads to distress. It leads to negative feelings. Now, I'm not saying be dirty. That's not my point here. My point here is that we're so attached to the physical things in this realm that attachment causes turmoil in our lives. It causes chaos in our lives. We all have different ways we want things done. In our household, I have particular ways I want the dishes done. Serena has particular ways in which she wants the laundry to be done and the way that's supposed to look. And that causes some conflict when we start to clean. So then we split the roles and everybody does their own thing and we're all happy at the very end of it. But we're still so attached to those physical things that the moment it goes wrong, we're distressed. Now let's take that to another example. When we attain perfection, when we try to attain perfection, when we become so attached to the things that we do, we get upset when they go wrong. So you're about to give a presentation. You're a student and you're about to give a presentation. And you want it to be absolutely perfect. So you're focused on the materials that you brought, the presentation materials, the PowerPoint, or whatever sort of presentation display you're using. You're so focused on that. You want it to be straight, in line. You want it to be perfect. But the moment something goes wrong, what happens to your mind? What happens when you get nervous? I know what happens to me when I get nervous. We fidget. Your heart starts to beat. You stutter. For me, I start to sweat profusely. I sweat a lot already. But when I get nervous, it happens even more. The sweat gets into my eyes. I can't breathe. I can't think. Things are going wrong. So I lose control of my senses. And it makes it much more difficult for me to give that presentation. Now, I'm not saying don't aim for perfection. But what he's saying here is that having renounced attachment to the fruits of all karma with his mind, dwells peacefully in the city of the 9 gates, neither performing action himself nor causing anyone to act. So if I renounce the fruits to my karma, to the actions that I performed, knowing that whatever result is going to come of it, I guarantee you life will be that much easier. But we can't do that. We as humans cannot do that, especially growing up. Those in the older generation, yeah, maybe they've been able to achieve that. But we have such a need to make things a particular way in our lives that we can't give up the fruits to those desires. We cannot renounce the attachment to the fruits of action. We can never cause ourselves not to act, but more importantly, too, we can never cause other people not to act. We always want people to do something for us or on behalf of us or in a way that we want them to do it. So somebody that's like this is balanced. They understand what it means to be a Niskama Karma Yogi, someone who does their work in the name of Bhagwan. But Bhagwan Shri Krishna is not done. He goes on to say to Arjuna about these particular type of people and their relation to Bhagwan. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Tumna karmani lokyasya shrejati prabhu na karma phala samyogam swabhavastu prarvartate na datte kasya chit papam na chayava sukram tamubhyu ajnanena vritam jnanam tena muyanti jantvaha jnanena tu tat ajnanam Esam nasitam atmana Tesam aditya vajnanam Prakasya yati tat param Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna
Sharanam Mama.
Bhagwan Shri Krishna says, Parameswara has not created the tendency for individuals to act or their karma or the resultant fruits. All of this is enacted by their acquired nature. That is, they are impelled by the ignorance that have covered them since time immemorial. Parameswara does not accept anyone's sinful reaction or their pious reaction. The ignorance, however, which covers the inherent true knowledge of the jiva, bewilders them. But for those whose ignorance has been destroyed by the knowledge of the Supreme Absolute, that knowledge, like shining sun, reveals Shri Bhagwan. To sum it up in one phrase, and I'm going to go into more elaboration on this, Bhagwan, Parameswara, is not the one who determines what your mentality is. The actions that happen to us in the world, the karma we receive, is due to our acquired nature. That's what he's saying. All this enacted by their acquired nature. That is, they are impelled by the ignorance that has covered them since time immemorial. We act based off of our nature. We act based off how we were raised. We act based off the environment we grew up in. A great example that I have is understanding children in school. Now, when there's a child in school and they're misbehaving, what is the immediate thought? And I've heard it before. That child is misbehaved. They were ill-behaved at home. Their parents don't take good care of them. They let them do whatever they want. The child is in a rough neighborhood, so they act out. But what we don't see, devotees, is the environment that they grew up in. Their actions are compelled, again, by that acquired nature. And what is the nature around them? It is chaotic. It is hurtful. It is filled with words that are derogatory, degrading, and hurtful. So when a child grows up in an abusive household, what are the psychological tendencies of that child? They act out. They may be the bully. Why do they do that, though? Their nature at home has taught them that violence outside is okay, that it's better to act with my fist than it is to act with my words. So when we see somebody and we try to understand what their nature is like, sometimes we'll make fun of them, but we don't understand. We don't understand that their actions are driven by the nature that was acquired to them. Now, again, what it's saying is that God does not have an effect on how you are mentally. Does not have effect on the choices you make or the karma that you get. Because the karma that comes into life is brought about by only one person in this world, devotees. And that person is you. Parameswara does not accept anyone's sinful reaction or their pious reaction. The ignorance, however, which covers the inherent true knowledge of the jivas, bewilders them. We have a tendency to blame others for the actions that we choose to make. The way we say things to people, the way we act, our contributions to society affect how people react towards us. It is not up to us to blame God for all the bad things that happen in our lives. It's up to us to uphold that responsibility. It is up to us to uphold that responsibility. I understand that at points in time, devotees, we are doing something because we want to impress somebody else. As a child, you want to make your parents proud. You don't want to mess up. And so you do everything in your nature to make them proud. You don't want to go against them. You don't want to make them angry. But then what do we do sometimes to appease that person? Our parents will catch us. They always catch us. But what do? We lie. We're dishonest. We go against the moral values that our parents taught us because in our hearts, we want to make them proud. Just because it's gold on the outside doesn't mean it's pure on the inside. Does not mean it's good on the inside. So all of our sinful acts, what Bhagwan Shri Krishna is saying, that's on us. It's not on God. God's not making those bad things happen to us. God's not compelling us to skip school, to lie, to cheat, to drink, to steal. He's not influencing us with greed, anger, hatred, jealousy, violence. That's us. That's our actions. That's the environment we grew up in. So this is an important lesson for both parents and children, for adults and kids. Remember, parents, kids act based off what they see, what they hear from you. And it's not just you. Other children learn based off of your acts too. But kids, it's also important to understand as well that if we do things negatively, if we do things badly, we're not impressing anybody. The bad things we do in this world affect others, and that lies only on us. So never, ever again do I ever want to hear somebody come up to me and say, oh, what has God done to me? What has God done to me? Why has God given me diabetes? God didn't give you diabetes. I will tell you this right now. God didn't give you heart problems. It's because of the actions we took in life that got us there. That's the hard truth. That's what we call the hard to swallow pill. Understand that nature. But for those whose ignorance has been destroyed by the knowledge of the Supreme Absolute, that knowledge, like shining sun, reveals Sri Bhagwan. If you understand our relationship to the Lord, if you understand the actions we take in the name of the Lord, if you understand the actions that we have to perform, releasing all of our senses, doing everything rightfully to our appropriate actions, that light, Bhagwan, will brighten our lives. We'll make it clear. We'll make it steady so we know what path we have to live on. But devotees, Bhagwan Shri Krishna is not done. We still have a number of chapters to go through, but still in chapter 5 and verse 17, he goes on to tell Arjuna, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Dhabundhaya sthadatmanas tani tastat parayana Gacchantya apurna vritim jnana nirduta kalmasa vidya vinaya sampane brahmane gavihastini sunnicheva swapakecha pandita samadharsina ihayvadhirjita sargo ye samstitam mana nirhosam hi samah brahma tasmada brahma maniti shittita na prahasyiti priya prapya no fujit parapacha priyam stiram budhira sammudho brahma vid brahmani stita Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Those whose intelligence is fixed in Parameswara, on Bhagwan, whose minds are absorbed only in meditation on him, who are exclusively devoted to him, who are engaged in hearing and chanting about him, and whose avidya has been completely destroyed by vidya, attain moksha. The wise look with equal vision upon a gentle and learned Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog. So what does that mean? It means fix your mind in Bhagwan, summing it up, but look at everybody in an equal manner. I never understood people who did like chicken fighting or dog fighting. I never understood that. I never understood the sport in that. I never understood why people could get such enjoyment watching creatures harm each other, kill each other for a little bit of profit. What Bhagwan is saying here is that all living beings should be treated equally. There's 5 groups that we always offer worship and prayer to. The great saints and sages, our gurus, our parents, all other human beings, and then all other living beings around us. We should treat everything with great respect. Serena and I were talking about how we never understood how there's aunts and uncles and grandparents who, when they have to kill a roach, they say, "I'm sorry." They say, "I'm sorry" before they kill a roach. How many of us say, "I'm sorry" before I kill a roach? How many of us say, "I'm sorry" before I kill anything? Sometimes. However, here, and again, this is very tough for us to understand, we're still being hypocritical. We are still being very hypocritical in that sense. We think that we're doing better by saying, "I'm sorry" before we take a life. However, if there was a person in front of you and you were about to take that person's life, would you say, "I'm sorry"? That person is a pest. They're leaving your house dirty. They're eating all your food. They're contaminating your water. But you're going to go kill them and say, "I'm sorry." So when we think we're doing something good, when we think we're making amends, we're really just being hypocritical because we're not keeping our minds focused on Bhagwan. We're not having Parameswara in our mind. We're not doing that act in the name of God. We're doing that act in the name of us because that's our nature. That's our action. So because you say, "I'm sorry" before you kill that roach, does that adhere you of any sin at all? No, it just makes you ignorant to what true nature is, to what actual life is. Now, I'm not saying don't say sorry, right? I understand why people kill bugs because they're scared of them. But our fear shouldn't dictate the actions we make in life. When you're driving on the road and somebody swerves and you get scared, what happens to you? You lose your senses, you swerve, and now you're putting other people at risk. I have learned from my job and from different things in my life that if I'm scared, if I am worried, if something is going wrong, all I need to do is one thing before I go and act. And that one thing, and we've talked about it, devotees, and we've mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, control my senses. And how do I control my own senses? I inhale, exhale. That takes all of 3 seconds. 2, if you're speedy. And what happens in those 3 seconds that you take a breath? Your heart rate goes down. Your blood pressure goes down. You've got oxygen back to your brain. You're able to think, and you're able to act more readily. I can tell you, and this isn't a good analogy, but Serena and I went to a friend's wedding, and when we went to that wedding, we decided to stay in an Airbnb, and the Airbnb had a wasp in it. Now, my wife is allergic to wasps. She's allergic to bees, so she gets stung, she'll swell up. So I had to go, this is bad, right? I went to go kill this wasp. And of course, I'm scared, because as I'm chasing this wasp around, I don't want to get stung. Do you want to get stung? Nobody wants to get stung. So I'm running around like a madman with one shoe on, one shoe off, my balding hair going up everywhere because I still had hair at the time, trying to kill this wasp. And the more I ran around and tried to swing my shoe, the more I would miss the wasp and the angrier it would get. So I don't want to get stung, but now I'm provoking this wasp for me to get stung. So I control my senses, and I end up killing I'm not proud of this, right? I'm not saying take pride in this. I end up killing the wasp. But you know what I did? I calmed down. The wasp was sitting on a wall. Instead of me running up and going, "Ha!" and trying to hit it with my shoe, I walked up very steadily. I took my shoe and I just went very calmly. And I was able to catch it because I controlled my senses. I made everything calm. But the learned person in me should know now, at this point in time, because I read this, that I should look upon a person, a Brahman, a Kshatriya, a merchant, even the homeless man, a cow, an elephant, a dog. They should all be saying in the same manner. We have a dog, a family dog. Her name's Destiny. My parents are her parents. She's my little sister. I take care of her because I see her like I would see a person. Yeah, she may be a diva every once in a while, but that's her nature. That's the result of her life. Those are her actions because she's a dog. Those whose minds are fixed in equanimity conquer the whole universe in this very life. They possess the flawless qualities of Brahma and therefore are situated in Brahma. Those whose minds are fixed in equality. In equality. I'm not saying inequality. Those whose minds are fixed within the world of equality. I can tell you right now that I have not met a single person, myself included, who does not see everybody equally. You can tell me you do. You can tell me you do. But then your actions speak louder than your words, because we see how you treat people. We see how you talk about different things. How many of us have the good nature to see a homeless person on the side of the road and roll our window down to try to care for them? You see that bum over there? He's a drug addict. He just wants your money so he can buy beer and drugs. You don't know what that person's gone through. You made an assumption. One person spoiled your mind of what that group of people is like, and then you take your actions against that entire group of people. I've used this story before. I was late for a final exam when I was getting my master's program. When I was in my master's program. This man came up to me on the street. He said, "I'm sorry, sir. I'm so sorry to bug you. I don't have a home. I don't have any money, but I'm so hungry right now. I'm not asking you for anything other than a meal. Could you get me something to eat?" He didn't ask me for money. He asked me for food because this poor man was starving. This man's name was Happy. That's the only name he told me, at least. He was a very happy man. So I took him to Subway and I said, "Order whatever you need." And he says, "Can I get a 6-inch sandwich?" I look at him, I said, "No," I said, "Get whatever you need." He goes, "All I need is a 6-inch sandwich." A man who has nothing is only asking for the minimum amount from me. Even though I've promised him a full meal, he's only asking for the minimum amount. I'm surprised he didn't just ask for a bag of chips. So I said, "If it's okay with you, I'd like to get you a full sandwich, a full meal, some cookies, some chips, and a drink." He goes, "Sir, that's not necessary. I mean, I just need the small sandwich." I said, "You need that now. But what about later on in the day? What about tomorrow?" And you couldn't see, I know you can't picture it, devotees, or maybe you can picture it, but just the reaction on his face, it was priceless to see, because I've never seen somebody so happy to get something that I could order on a daily basis. He was able to get a full meal, and he was so appreciative of that. He got a foot-long sandwich, he got a bag of chips, he got 3 cookies, and he got a medium soft drink. And that probably held him over. And to repay me, devotees, he thanked me, and then he told me a joke. I honestly don't remember that joke. He said he was a comedian by trade. Told me a joke. It made me laugh. By this point, I was 20 minutes late for my final exam, meaning that I only had an hour left to take it. So I run up. There's no penalty for being late other than the fact that I lose time. I went up, I took my final exam, I left, I felt happy. Yes, I was a little stressed that I was late for my exam, but by nature dictated that this man is asking me for help. Who am I to turn away that help? I can still focus on my exam. I still have time left, so I did that. I took my exam, and I passed. I got an A. I don't mean passing as in like I got a 70 and I barely skidded, but I got an A. But I got an A because my mind stayed calm. I didn't panic. I walked up with a good heart, good intentions, and happiness in my life. Had I run into that room super stressed out, I would have forgotten everything that I studied. I probably would have done terribly. One who knows Brahma, who is firmly situated in Brahma, has steady intelligence, is not deluded. He neither rejoices upon obtaining something pleasant, nor despairs upon receiving something unpleasant. If we look at all people equally, if we immerse ourselves in Brahma, because remember, within me, within you, within every living being is a spark of God. And we treat those people like their God. And we do this with a steady intelligence. We're not deluded. We rejoice in the unpleasant things and the pleasant things. We will be situated in Bhagwan. It took me a long time to figure out one thing that was mentioned in the Bhagvat Gita that says that we can perform action and we have to be pleased with the results, even if that action involves having somewhat of a sin in it. Because we all have actions that we like to perform. This is my analogy to that. At some point in every Guyanese person's life, we become a gardener. At some point. I hated being out in the yard. But guess what? Now I have a deck full of dead flowers. Now I'm a gardener by trade, but all those flowers are dead. And I'm learning. When I was a kid, my parents had some fruits and veggies in their yard. But now if you look at them, they have eggplant, baigan, they have bora growing. 3-foot long bora. This long. This is actually 6 feet, but you get the point here. All my cousins, my aunts and uncles, at some point in their life, they switched gears and now they're like professional gardeners. When you come to Monday, you'll see everybody will have like peppers and baigan and bhaji and different things to offer. So at some point in our lives, all Guyanese people will become gardeners. What happens when you garden though? What do you have to do to the soil? You've got to make sure the soil's rich. You've got to make sure it's nutrient-wise. You've got to dig it up. In order to have a good action, which is a plant that you can use to feed yourself and others, you've got to dig that soil. And what happens when you stick that spade or that shovel in the soil? What are you hitting? Rocks, maybe. Soil, maybe. But what if while you're digging, I said you have to look at everything equally. We shouldn't kill bugs like we have been. What if you stick your shovel into the ground and you spear a beetle in half? You kill a worm. What happens if you're gardening and you see a snake and you good to go? I'm not saying go kill the snake, but if you're shoveling down into soil and you accidentally kill a bug and you do something, that's sin on you. Even though you didn't realize it, you were trying to do something good. Something bad came out of it. Serena gave me this analogy yesterday. We were talking about it. So in order for us to do good in this world, in order for us to plant these plants to feed others, sometimes we do something disruptive to somebody else or something else. But understand the action that we're performing. Do you keep all your bora, Mom? Dad, do you keep all the bora to yourself? My dad said yes. That's a different story. We'll cover that a different day. They give the bora away to people. They give the seeds away to people. My cousins do that as well. They'll grow stuff and they'll give it away. People at Monday will grow stuff and they'll give it away. But know that sometimes there's actually a small bit of sin that occurs into us. But because of the nature, the action that we're doing, the reason we're doing it, that means we're stuck in a quality, that we're fixed our minds in an area where we know that no matter what the action is and what comes of it, we're going to be pleased with the end result. We performed our prescribed duties in the name of Bhagwan, in the name of sustenance, in the name of making sure that everybody is happy. So yes, sometimes we're deluded in sin, but one who knows Brahma, who is firmly situated in Brahma, who is a niskama karma yogi, does action in the name of God, has steady intelligence and is not deluded, rejoices in neither obtaining something pleasant, nor despairs upon receiving something unpleasant. All my flowers are dead. I can safely say that. Am I happy about that? No. But I also know that my thumb is slowly getting a little greener. Right now, it's still probably more brown than it needs to be. But I'm fine with that action. Because you know what? Even though my flowers are dead, what am I going to do with those flowers? We've actually been saving the dead flowers. We've been drying them or using them to make samagri. So something good still comes out of that. So how can I be unpleased with my action when I know even though I killed those flowers, something good is going to come out of it? Anything unpleasant can turn to pleasantry. We have to make it that way. We have to use our nature to make something unpleasant feel pleasant. Don't let the negative feelings in your life deter you from what you need to do or who you need to be. Because remember, at the end of the day, Bhagwan doesn't accept those sins. Bhagwan isn't the one performing those negative actions. Bhagwan is not the one who's making the world a bad place, making it worse for everybody and yourself. That's on you. It will always be on you. It will forever be on you. Those actions you take may affect others, but at the end of the day, ultimately it's your life you're messing with. In verse 21 of the Srimad Bhagvat Gita, Bhagwan Shri Krishna goes on to tell Arjuna, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna
Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
सर्वस्वेऽसक्तात्मा विन्दत्यात्मानि यः सुखं स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखम अक्षयम आस्नुते. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama.
Bhagwan Shri Krishna goes on to tell Arjuna that you can find happiness. That you can find happiness. Ultimately, every day and every second, you can find happiness. And how do you find this happiness? Isn't that a great question? How do we find happiness? How do we know to be happy every single second, every single day of the rest of our lives? You'll find out that answer, devotees, next Sunday during our regular virtual Sunday morning satsang. Please tune in then. Prem se Bolo Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Devotees, at this time, we will have one bhajan before we move on to our final prayers and closing announcements.
Let me. मेरा आपके कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है. मेरा आपके कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है. करते हो तुम कन्हैया मेरा नाम हो रहा है. करते हैं तुम कन्हैया मेरा नाम हो रहा है.
Devotees, at this time, I ask that we all please clasp our hands, we close our eyes. We focus our minds on the feet of Bhagwan as we offer these closing prayers. Om Sarvesham Swasti Bhavatu Sarvesham Shanti Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Om Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashantu Ma Kaschita Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Mantrahinam Kriyahinam Bhaktahinam Janardanam Yatya Pujitam Maya Deva Paripurnam Dharastu Me Papoham Papo Karamaham Papo Atma Papo Sambhua Trahimam Pundari Kaksham Sarva Papo Haro Hari Om Tvameva Matas Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhus Chasakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Asato Asadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Mritam Yamaya Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Om Dhyao Shantir Antarikshagum Shantir Prithvi Shantir Apa Shantir Aushadhaya Shantir Vanaspati Shantir Vishwadeva Shantir Brahma Shantir Sarvegum Shantir Shantireva Shanti Sama Shanti Redhi Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tatsat Prem Swala Ganesh Bhagwan Ki Jai Prem Swala Adi Shakti Durga Mata Ki Jai Prem Swala Vishnu Bhagwan Ki Jai Prem Swala Shiva Shankar Bhagwan Ki Jai Prem Swala Shiva Shakti Mandir Ki Jai Prem Swala Sanatana Dharma Ki Jai. Devotees, with this, we have come to the end of our virtual Sunday morning service for today, which is August 16th, 2020. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Just a few announcements for everyone, just so we're all up to date. On this past Tuesday, which was August 11th, we did celebrate Krishna Janmashtami. It was a very beautiful puja. We sat here at home and we performed the puja live for you. So if you'd like to see that puja, great news, we have that available. If you go to the YouTube page and search for the Krishna Janmashtami Puja from August 11th, you'll be able to watch that service. So even if you weren't able to attend at that time, you can still go through and watch the entire service if you so desire. With that being said, devotees, we have another service coming up this coming Friday, August 21st. We have our Ganesh Chaturthi Puja. We will be celebrating that here again virtually on Friday at 7 o'clock or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you're tuning in at Eastern Standard Time, not whatever time zone you may be in. It may not be the correct time. You may be tuning in too late or too early. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be here live on our YouTube channel to celebrate our Ganesh Chaturthi Puja. We will send out a reminder email sometime this week with a link so you all have access to that and know exactly where to go at what time you need to be there. As always, devotees, we would like to extend our sincerest wishes and happiness to those of you who have celebrated birthdays. On my list, I have two. We have Uncle Rick Somra. Very happy birthday to you. And Auntie Savi Lachman. Very happy birthday to you both. We hope you celebrated this week. We hope your significant others, as my dad would say, took you out, got you some cake, and bought you a new car. I'm assuming at some point in life, that's like what the tradition is every birthday. So I'm going to learn from my father that way. We'll see what happens. Yes, I do apologize. So as my mother kindly reminded me, for participation in Ganesh Chaturthi Puja, because it's the Lord Ganesh Puja, the puja itself isn't going to go through the same steps as other ones will. So we will still be doing the same 16-step puja, but if you do not have all those materials at home, devotees, my suggestion is that you have a lota of water so you can bathe Lord Ganesh. You have some chandan or some sort of powder that you can apply to his forehead, whether it be chandan, turmeric powder, kumkum, sindoor. So turmeric powder is yellow, Kumkum is red, sindoor is orange. If you have all four, that's great. Some sort of powder to apply to his forehead. Some flowers to offer, pushpam. I know, again, a lot of you out there have reached the point in your life where you're professional gardeners, and I'm hoping that you may have a flower or two that you can pick from your front yard to offer. Have a diya as well, so you can perform arti. Fruits or mahambog to offer. You can make mahambog yourself with flour, sugar, ghee. Laddu would be a very appropriate thing to have. If you're going to go to the store and buy laddu, make sure that it doesn't contain anything sorts like gelatin or some specific white cane sugars. I just ask the cashier, because some of those things, especially has gelatin, means you're offering cow bone or animal bone or some sort of marrow to God. You don't want to do that. Laddu would be a very perfect and acceptable thing. You can also look up a laddu recipe online if you need to. YouTube it. So have those things. Something to bathe Lord Ganesh with, just water. Something to put on his forehead, preferably chandan. Flowers, a diya, and then fruits, bananas, mahambog, or laddu to offer Lord Ganesh. And then, as always, devotees, have a clear, calm mind, have two hands ready to pray. And that should be it. I think that's all you're going to need for your Ganesh Chaturthi Puja. If you want to follow along with the full 16-step puja, you can tune into the YouTube channel to watch and see how that's performed. But if you want to perform along with us, you're more than welcome, and use those materials. That's the minimum you'll need. Maximum you'll need is you'll need your leaves, more fruits. You'll need incense, panchamrit, which is milk, ghee, yogurt, sugar, and honey. Okay, but just the minimum, those 5 things. And again, to those of you who had birthdays, very happy birthday to you all. Devotees, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time out of your schedule to tune in with us for this Sunday morning satsang, whether you're watching it now, live with us today, or in the future. I hope you have a wonderful, safe, happy, and healthy week, and we will see you again next week, or actually on Friday, for our Ganesh Chaturthi Puja. Jai Sita Ram, devotees.